So, this isn't confirmed, but Tony Thompson has broke on his Facebook page that he has agreed to fight Anthony Joshua and a deal has been done should Anthony Joshua come through his fight against Kevin Johnson on May the 30th. There's also been a few discussions about this on the forums, on the Boxing News 24 forum. There's 3 or 4 pages of discussions going back and forth about this fight. It looks realistic. It looks like this one could well be happening. I guess the other thing to factor in is I watched an IFL TV interview today which just went up with Anthony Joshua, where he does actually make a reference to Tony Thompson, discussing Tony Thompson, David Price. And I think he puts in a decent word for Thompson, which perhaps does suggest, that there's some sort of conversation that has happened there behind the scenes. I'm quite surprised if this matchup is made. I'm quite surprised if this is official, if it gets made official. And I'll tell you why. For a start, Tony Thompson is a huge step up. Huge. Because a guy like Kevin Johnson is very naturally talented. But he doesn't come to win, does he? He comes to survive. He's a defensive fighter. His desire at the elite level is questionable. We've seen him drop losses to guys who I don't consider top 10 heavyweights. Guys like Derek Chisora, guys like Christian Hamer. But Tony Thompson is a different kettle of fish altogether. Tony Thompson is a guy coming off back-to-back wins against Odlaner Solis. A guy who, not so long ago, had back-to-back wins, both by knockout, against another heavy-punching Olympian British amateur boxer who was supposed to be the next greatest thing, who was going to dominate the heavyweight division in David Price. Tony Thompson is a lot of things that Anthony Joshua has never faced before. Tony Thompson is tall. He's a really tall, rangy individual. He comes to win. He's got desire. I don't think Joshua's ever fought anyone who comes to win. Tony Thompson has got more high-level experience than anyone Joshua's ever fought. This is a guy who has 2 fights with Vladimir Klitschko, 2 fights with Odlaner Solis, 2 fights with David Price, a fight with Kubrat Pulev, a fight with Carlos Takam, and that's just in recent memory. He has been really fighting at the most elite level of the sport. He's also a very, very awkward southpaw who fights at angles, who lays traps, who can go late in fights. And despite the fact that he's old, despite the fact that he doesn't have a rippling six-pack like Joshua, this is a guy who can outlast younger opponents. He outlasted David Price. He outlasted Odlaner Solis. He went the distance with Kubrat Pulev. He's a really stern test. He's somebody who I would rank between number 8 and number 12 in the heavyweight division. I rate him that highly. Joshua's never fought anyone, maybe Matt Skelton, but Joshua's never fought anyone at that height who is a top 50 heavyweight, let alone a top 10 heavyweight. Joshua's never fought anyone with this level of experience, and that is a massive step up. Now sometimes with these gatekeepers, another example is Kamitsky, Carson Jones. Kamitsky got a big surprise, knocked out Frank Buglioni. So other promoters get on the bandwagon. Oh, let's chop Adam Etches in with Kamitsky. That will make Etches look really good because Buglioni got KO'd by this guy. Well, the opposite happened. Etches got KO'd by him. Eddie Hearn thinks, let's stick Brian Rose in with Carson Jones. Carson Jones gave Kell Brook hell. That will make Brian Rose look really good when he beats Carson Jones. Carson Jones knocks Brian Rose out. Tony Thompson knocks David Price out twice. So Odlaner Solis thinks, let's get it on with him. It made me look really good to beat him when this guy knocked out David Price twice. And what happens? Tony Thompson beats Odolais twice. For me, this is bad matchmaking. I'm not saying Anthony Joshua doesn't win. Thompson is getting older by the day. Anthony Joshua is a young lion with so much investment behind him. He's clearly more athletic than Thompson. I would suggest, even though I have some doubts over Joshua's punching power, that Anthony Joshua is the bigger puncher out of the two. But there are a lot of intangibles with Anthony Joshua. A lot of unanswered questions at this stage. How does he respond when taking a shot? How does he respond against a skilled southpaw? How does he respond against an opponent who can move? How does he respond against an opponent who can jab? How does he respond when he's had to go 6 or 7 rounds? How does he respond when he's hitting chin? Sorry if I'm repeating myself. Tony Thompson's a really big step up. It was too much of a step up for David Price. There are some similarities between Joshua and Price. Tony Thompson, yeah, he's slow-paced. He's potentially overweight. But he can still move around the ring. He's solid defensively. He angles himself well to minimise punishment. His jab is, in my opinion, a bit more flowing than Anthony Joshua, who has a tendency to push it, to force it a bit. Tony Thompson is not robotic. His jab is smooth. It's not so rigid. And Tony Thompson has a knack, not at the very elite level, not at the Klitschko level. I mean, let's not forget he came out and took the first few rounds against Pulev. He's got a knack of setting a pace of a fight to suit him. We're used to seeing Anthony Joshua steamrolling our opponents, but for me, Tony Thompson has a way of controlling range and understanding distance, understanding angles, to a point where he often fights at a slightly slower pace, and he can force his opponent to fight at the pace with him. You can see that in the Price fight. Price is another guy. He was used to coming out, killing opponents with one right hand. But Tony Thompson is able to keep the distance. Tony Thompson is able to circle. And I think he could frustrate Anthony Joshua. This is the same Anthony Joshua who described Jason Gaverne as a slippery, defensive, awkward fighter. Really? Jason Gaverne, who got beaten by Michael Sprott in Prize Fighter. If he thinks Jason Gaverne is awkward, wait till he's in the ring with a much more experienced, much more high level, much more hard punching, much taller southpaw in Tony Thompson. If I was managing Joshua, and I did a video on this a few days ago, please check it out, the fights that I would pick if I was managing Anthony Joshua. Regular viewers will note that I did not mention the words Tony Thompson. For me, this is a fight I would avoid at all costs. I would learn from the lessons of David Price. As I say, Joshua probably deserves to be a favourite. Joshua may well get the job done, but for me the risk reward is not there. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if Tony Thompson ruins another prospect. Not confirmed yet. If you look at the Tiger's Facebook page, he's confident. Let me know your thoughts. Look forward to discussing this one.